Hey y'all, today's video is super fun. We are doing a Meet the Teacher, Meet the Homeschool Mama collab. Let's get into it. All right, first things first, if you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. This video is going to let you know a lot more about me, my family, and our homeschool. My name's Kayla, and I have 3 girls. I'm currently homeschooling my older 2 girls. My youngest is still a baby, so not quite ready for homeschool lessons just yet. We are in our 6th year of homeschooling, and I am currently teaching 4th grade and 1st grade. I for sure would love it if you stuck around, so be sure to click that subscribe button and turn notifications on. And while you're down there, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. I'd also love to hear more about you if you are new to the channel, or even if you've been here for a minute but you haven't introduced yourself yet. Go ahead and introduce yourself down in the comments. If you would like to answer any particular questions that we are going through in the video, I would love to hear that as well. This Meet the Teacher, Meet the Homeschool Mom collab is being hosted by one of my YouTube mama pals, Shauna, over at Making Everyday Magic. Shauna's channel is just chock full of awesome resources, reviews, and lots of fun, chatty mom life videos as well. So if you are not familiar with Shauna, definitely head over and check out her channel. There are quite a few secular homeschool mamas joining this collab, so definitely make sure that you check out the playlist. I will link it in the description box below. That way, if you are looking for more inspiration, your future new favorite channels, you will find them. All right, let's dive into these questions. Question number 1 is, what led you to this path? So what led me to the choice of homeschooling, of home education for our family? I have talked about this on this channel before, but I am actually a homeschool graduate. I was homeschooled myself from 3rd grade through 12th grade. I'm the oldest in my family. I was very much the guinea pig of the homeschool experience. I personally never had the desire to go back to public school. I just really loved my homeschooling experience growing up. However, my 2 younger siblings did go back and forth. They both did stints of homeschooling, of charter school, of public school, just depending on what their needs were for any given year. So I definitely grew up seeing a lot of educational options, and with the philosophy of do what's best for your individual child and for your unique family situation. And my experience wasn't perfect. I don't think any educational experience is perfect. There's always going to be pros and cons no matter which path you choose. But for me, overall, I really did enjoy being a homeschooler, and I felt like it served me well. And so as I got older, really, like, even in my high school years, I kind of decided in my head already that if I were to become a parent, if I were to have my own kids, I would seriously, strongly consider home education. And thankfully, my husband was completely on board and really supportive when I brought that idea up to him. So my kids have actually never been in a school setting. We have homeschooled from the beginning, as I say. Question number 2, what subjects or topics do you love teaching the most, and why are they your favorites? I would say my top favorite is definitely history or social studies, geography, anything that has to do with people and places, whether that be in the past or in the present. I have always loved history. I've always loved learning about other cultures, other civilizations. That sort of cluster of history and social studies is really my absolute favorite. I love teaching it, but I also feel like as I'm teaching it, I'm always learning something new right along with my kids. And yeah, that's my favorite for sure. Question number 3, what is your teaching style and philosophy? I remember in 2019, 2020, when I was starting to have more of a presence in the online homeschool community. As I started to look more into homeschool content on Instagram and on YouTube and blogs and all of this sort of thing, I realized how many labels and categories there are in this modern homeschooling world. And it was really mind boggling to me because I had homeschooled myself. I thought that I kind of knew the lingo and the terminology. And then I just got hit with all of these very unfamiliar terms. Charlotte Mason and unschooling and Montessori, classical and traditional. And I spent a lot of time, months really, deep diving into each of these philosophies, reading books on them, watching videos on them. And I got kind of convinced by social media, by the online community, that I needed to pick one of these things. I don't regret all of that research that I did because it made me much more aware of what my options are as far as curricula, resources, methods, and it also made me understand the people who were creating the content that I was consuming, where they were coming from. However, through my process, I came to realize that for me personally, being married to one of those philosophies or pedagogies was just not for me. There are certain aspects of all of those philosophies that I can really relate to, identify with, that I really like to see in my personal homeschool. But there are also aspects of each of them that I don't relate to, that I don't really want to implement. Long story short, all that being said, I am definitely an eclectic homeschooler. I pull from a wide range of curricula and resources, and really, my philosophy, if I boil it down to its most simple form, is use what works, do what works. I try to have a balance of rigor and academia with pursuing our interests and passions because I really feel like that's the sweet spot if we can have both of those things. I want it to be challenging. I also want it to be relatively enjoyable. That doesn't mean that I think every homeschool day and every homeschool lesson is going to be fun, but challenging and enjoyable. And even if it's not fun in the moment, it's rewarding in the end. And so that's always what I'm looking for with my kids. Are they being appropriately challenged? Are they having that sense of satisfaction with a job well done, a difficult thing completed? Okay, question number 4. As a homeschool mom, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face in balancing your role as a parent and a teacher? I would say, hands down, the biggest challenge for me in balancing those two roles as the primary educator or at least curator of educational experiences. Ooh, I should put that on a t-shirt. And then also the role of mother and parent. By far the biggest challenge is time management and all of the tasks that are involved in both of those roles. And not just physical tasks, but also it's a huge amount of mental load. Being a parent, being the default primary parent, is already so physically and mentally taxing, right? It takes so much out of us. When you add homeschooling on top of that, it's definitely not easy. I mean, let's be honest, it is not easy. On any given day, in any given week, the to-do list is miles long. And I've had to accept the fact that it just never will be fully done. There's just no way to actually do it all. I feel like typically I am doing one thing really, really well, and all the other things are kind of suffering. And then I just switch those things all the time. So some weeks, like, my house is really clean, my laundry is done, And usually on those weeks, we're a little bit behind on our homeschool lessons. We're not getting to everything that I have scheduled. And then on the weeks where we're like killing it in our homeschool, like we are just on top of every lesson, we are doing the extension work, we're having such a good time, we're enjoying ourselves, enjoying our learning together. Those are the weeks where there's usually like 4 loads of laundry piled up in my living room. And, like my hair is a mess and the kids' faces are sticky and there's dirty dishes in the sink. And like, who knows when the last time we used a vacuum was. Like, that's just the reality. I know that there are a lot of homeschool content creators, a lot of channels on here that have seemingly found the magic recipe to like keep it all going. Like they're meal prepping and the house is clean and everybody's like dressed and they have makeup on every day and they're getting all their homeschool work done before lunchtime. I mean, that's definitely not real life for me, but it is what it is. Really, if I were to list out all of the tasks that I am responsible for, it would probably be equivalent to like 2 or 3 full-time jobs. And I'm sure that that's true for a lot of you as well. So we have to be gentle with ourselves. We have to go easy on ourselves and really be realistic of what is one person capable of. So yeah, time management, juggling all the tasks, that's definitely my biggest challenge. And I think really my main tool for dealing with that challenge is acceptance and being realistic and being gentle with myself. Okay, question number 5. How do you create a conducive learning environment for your children? For us personally, we have this room that I am in. We have an entire room for homeschooling. Really, that's mainly what we do in here in order to be successful or in order to have a conducive learning environment for your children. I have homeschooled on the couch, on the floor, at a coffee table, at the dining table. I'm very thankful that I have this space. I enjoy this space, but I don't think that it is necessary. I think you can make just about any space or lack thereof work for home education. That being said, I think there are a few things that help me personally and also my kids to enjoy our learning time a little bit more and also to be able to focus a little bit more. One of those key things is natural light. But I find that I personally feel more awake and alert when we have natural light. I've also found that at least one of my children has taken after me and focuses a lot better on her work when she is working near natural light. And then the last thing that I would say is really an essential for us personally to have a space conducive to learning is that I try very, very hard to minimize clutter as much as I possibly can. And when you're homeschooling, it can be very easy for the clutter to just start piling up. And I'm definitely not like a full on minimalist, as you can tell by the space behind me. We have books, we have art supplies, we have things, but I really try to only have what I feel like we're going to be using on a regular basis. And even then, I don't buy things in bulk, even if it's going to save me some money, just because I don't want to have to store, you know, 500 pencils and tons of markers and erasers and a surplus of paper. I'd rather just get things in small amounts as we need them. So keeping our space as clean and clutter-free as possible, keeping it as organized as I possibly can. I feel like all of that really helps us to not feel bogged down or overwhelmed by what we're surrounded with, which then in turn frees up that mental space for focusing on the task at hand and enjoying our learning more. Question number 6. What resources or curriculum do you find most helpful in your homeschool? Honestly, right now, every single thing that we are using in our homeschool, I am really enjoying. But I'm not going to give you an exhaustive list. I think if I had to narrow it down to most helpful, it would probably be our math curriculum. We use Singapore math, we use their Dimensions program. I've been using that for several years for both of my girls. And the reason that I say that's the most helpful is because math is an area where I've always lacked confidence. I feel like if I did have any big educational gaps in my own homeschooling experience, math was definitely one of those. The way that concepts are taught in this math program is very, very different than the way that I was taught these same concepts. In the process of using dimensions math with my kids, I have learned so much. It was able to completely change my mindset towards something that I thought was going to be a real sore spot in our homeschool. Number 7, how do you tailor your teaching methods to meet the individual needs and learning styles of your children? I'm going to be honest, I don't think this is as challenging for me personally as it is for other homeschool parents, mainly because I currently have 2 students, and although there are minor differences, I mean, obviously they are different people. For the most part, a lot of what I use for one works really well for the other. I definitely tailor to our needs as a family, and I definitely tailor to each kiddo if I see that they have a very unique particular need, but I don't feel like I've had to do that so often. There are a few little things that I have to tailor a bit for each of them. I do have one kiddo that struggles just a little bit more with time management, with focusing on a task and not getting distracted. So there are certain things that I've had to implement more so for her. So things like using a visual timer, things like sitting with her even when she's doing independent work. I have found that she just gets through it a lot quicker and a lot easier if I am physically present with her. I also want to add something to this question because it's talking about tailoring to the individual needs of your children, which is so important and such a huge benefit of homeschooling that we have the opportunity to do that. But I also want to add, I tailor to my needs too. And I think that that's something that's really important in homeschooling. You don't necessarily only have to bend over backwards for your kids' needs. You should definitely take their needs and their wants into consideration, for sure. But also, like, we should pay attention to ourselves too. We are an essential component of the homeschool journey, the homeschool experience. I love literature-based learning. I love books. I love reading books with my kids. But I've also learned about myself over the years that there is only so much reading aloud I can do in a day before I literally lose my mind. So I've had to accept my own limitations and my own needs and try to be more realistic in what I am expecting of myself. I would definitely just encourage other homeschool parents, be sure to take your own needs and your own limitations into consideration as well. Don't feel guilty about that. Your needs, your time and energy, all of that is just as valuable as your kids' needs. Okay, question number 8. Do you involve your children in the planning of their lessons and educational goals? And if so, how? Yes, I do. This is actually something that I am building on and doing more and more as my kids get older. Just recently, when we completed our last homeschool year, I sat down with them and I asked, what is your favorite thing that we do in our homeschool? What's your least favorite thing? What subject are you really enjoying? What subject is feeling boring? What subject is feeling hard? Why is it feeling boring or hard? We had like a whole team meeting, and it was wonderful. I felt like I learned so much just asking the right questions and really listening to them. I also think that it makes them more invested in their education if they feel like they've had some say over any of those decisions. For this school year, they helped me choose all of the books that we will be doing for read alouds, for our literature discussions and lessons. They helped me choose our science curriculum. They helped me choose our history curriculum. I will sort of do the upfront research. And then once I've narrowed it down to a couple of options, I will typically show them, and they are very honest and open with me in expressing their opinions. I do also discuss educational goals with them when I feel like it's necessary to sort of bring them on board. Like, hey, going into your fourth grade year, you have accomplished so much. You are such a proficient reader. So going into fourth grade, we are really going to be focusing on composition, on more writing. Are you ready for that? Are you geared up for it? This is where we're headed. So with the educational goals, I'm not really so much asking their opinion as much as with choosing curricula and planning things out for the year. But I am sort of giving them a heads up as far as what our focuses are going to be, at least in their core subject areas. Question number 9. What are some extracurricular activities or field trips that you organize to enrich your children's learning experience? I'll be honest, extracurricular activities and field trips are probably something that we are lacking on. And there's a few reasons for that. The main reason is that my husband and I share one vehicle at this time. So it is challenging for me to take him to work. He works about 45 minutes away. It takes a lot of planning and it takes a lot of work, and it's not my favorite thing to do. We also have a very limited budget, so we are not the family that can afford, the ballet lessons and the gymnastics and the horseback riding and all of that. I think those things are wonderful, and sometimes I do have guilt around not being able to offer those to my kids, at least not at this time. But that's where we're at right now. So I have to make do and do the best with what I have. We do have a homeschool co-op. It's really more of a friend group that we get together with on a regular basis. It's not really for anything educational. It's more just for socialization and spending time together with other homeschoolers. Sometimes we'll go to the library or a park or a museum, and we definitely try to go during the week when it's less crowded. Kids are in school. So that has been really great for my kids. They've definitely made some very close friends through that group. It is not weekly. At best, it's monthly right now just because of everybody's schedule. But that's been okay for us. We're satisfied with that, at least right now. Question number 10. We've reached the final question. What do you find most rewarding about being a homeschool mom and teacher? Now, this is a big question, and I could go on and on and on. So I would have to say the most rewarding part is the time that I have with my kids, the time and experiences that we share together is just unmatched, in my opinion. Our kids are only little for so long, and the fact that I've gotten to be with them pretty much every day of their lives, all day, yes, it's tiring and exhausting at times, for sure. I do sometimes just want to go in a room by myself and close the door. I mean, let's be real. But the flip side of that is that I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I love the time that we have together, not just me and them, but also them with each other. They have such a sweet bond with each other. They have inside jokes with each other. They are each other's best friends. So homeschooling has just allowed for this really special experience and these really strong family ties and friendships, really, between all of us because of how much time we've spent together, because of the learning that we have done together, the memories that we've made together. That is very, very rewarding and special. All right, you guys, we got through it, all 10 questions. Don't forget to check out the playlist so that you can see how other mamas answered these. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was super fun to film it and to go through these with you guys. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.